So we created AppKat in order to solve problem around user research from the very beginning to the very end. Once you know which study you're going to be doing research on, you've got to find the relevant participants who are going to give you feedback for the study that you're doing. The second part is once you've found your participants, you've got to either schedule them for moderated tests or just a conversation, or you've got to send them unmoderated invites to do the tasks that you expect your participants to do. The third part is you've recruited your participants, you've sent them invites to either moderated or unmoderated tests, then you've got to do the tests. You can do both moderated and unmoderated tests on AppKat. Once you've done the test, you've got to make payments to your participant. So AppKat helps you make the payments that you may want to make to the participants who actually showed up to the moderated tests or gave you the unmoderated feedback that you were looking for. And then finally, you want to collaborate on the test results that you've got. So you've done your research, you've taken your notes, and you want to share this research and this data with your team and your stakeholders. In your AppKat account, you'll see the main problems that the product is meant to solve, and you'll be able to follow along as well. So the very first thing that AppKat wants to do is help you recruit participants for your study. So when you want to recruit participants for AppKat, you can first go ahead and create your new study. When you create a new study, you're able to select which questions a participant will be answering in order to be a participant on your panel. You can create any number of questions in AppKat as you want in order to recruit for your studies. So you can create questions such as, how often do you shop online? You have the option to let the user type in any answer they want, or you can give them options, something like always, sometimes, never, or even it's a mix. And then you can add this question to your study questionnaire. You can create as many questions as you want. You can use any language for this study that you want. One of AppKat's goal is to be a very global and customizable platform. So we give you the opportunity to use any language that you want when you're either creating your study questionnaires or sending invitations to your participants, which I'll get to shortly, as well as being able to customize literally everything in the software for yourself. Once you've created a few questions, you can even use questions that you created in the past so that you can ask as many questions as you possibly want for your participants who sign up. Once you enter that, you can go ahead and create your new study. Now, once you've created this study, we give you two options to recruit participants. The first option is that you can recruit participants right from your site. And to do that, all you have to do is enable the site intercept tool. Anyone who goes to your website will be shown this call to action on the bottom right of the screen to invite them to be a participant on your panel. On the site intercept, you can customize the header of the questionnaire, you can customize the body, you can customize the background color, the font color, you can customize the color to the call to action, as well as the text that goes into the call to action at the bottom over here. Additionally, you can use any language in the questionnaire you want as well. So if you wanted to ask questions in Spanish or French or Russian or Korean, any language of your choice, when you create the study, you can enter that language. When someone tries to sign up to be a participant in your study at gmail.com, I'll be asked to answer the questions that you created when you created that study. So in this question, how often do you misplace your glasses is the question that I decided to ask. And your participant can provide the answer that fits them best. As more and more folks come to your site, they'll see the site intercept, they'll commit to being a participant on your panel, and in your AppKat account, you're going to see a list of people who've signed up to give you feedback. So that's option one for recruiting participants on AppKat. The second option is to actually share the sign-up URL that we provide to you for each study that you create. In order to recruit participants for this study through the URL, all you have to do is copy the URL from your account. And then you can share this URL with a list of email addresses that you already have. It could be your existing customer base or a list of folks who've signed up to receive your newsletter. You can also paste this URL to online forums. So if you know that the type of user you're looking for would frequent an online forum that's specific to that community, you can post this link on those channels. You can also share this link on your social media accounts. So if you had a large following or a medium following, you could share this link to your followers and even ask them to spread the word that you're looking for participants for your research. This is especially useful if you're offering some kind of monetary incentive. More people are more inclined to share this information with their friends. The sign-up page is, again, completely customizable. You can use your own logo, your own background color, your own font color. The only thing required by AppKat is the email address of the participant who's signing up, and then all the questions that you'd like to ask are right below. As more and more folks come to this page and sign up, you'll notice that the participant panel in your account continues to grow. Now, this participant panel is private to you, so you are the owner of every account, every participant that signs up to participate in your account. We don't share this participant information with any other customers of ours. We don't use these participants for any research on our end. All the data in this account belongs to you. You'll have the email address of every person that signed up, and you can continue to talk to these folks outside of AppKat if you want to, without ever including AppKat in the conversation. Once you've got the participant signed up, you can get a little more details about the participant if you want. So if you click on the participant's name, it'll bring you to the additional qualified questions that the user answered, so you can get a little more picture about who this person is. You can filter by which study the person signed up for, by filtering by which study you're looking for. So this will filter down to only the folks who signed up for a particular study that the user may have signed up for. You can also use the filters on the left to filter by the responses that the user may have gave you for the questions that you created. Because this panel is privately owned by you, you can use these participants for multiple studies. So a participant signed up for a study that you created today, but wasn't really a fit for the study today, you can still invite them to a different study 3 months down the road when your requirements change. You can use the participants in multiple studies as well. So maybe the participant is a fit for this study and you invite them to the test. Maybe 6 months down the road, you've got a new product and you need a similar person's feedback. You can get them to come back and give you more feedback from the same panel. You can message the participant right through AppKat as well. Our goal is to give you one platform where everything about your participants stays. You recruit in here, you schedule them in here, you message them in here, you track how much you've paid them, you track which study they've been a part of and how many tests they've been a part of, so you can know exactly who this person is every time you're inviting them to a new feedback study. So I can go ahead and send a message to appkat.nick@gmail.com through AppKat. In the appkat.nick@gmail account, I'm going to receive a message from the account owner. So in this case, karananik@gmail.com is the one who's sending me the message. As you can see, this is the account that's sending the message. And then your participants never need to create an AppKat account. There's no complicated onboarding process that needs to take place. They just go ahead and respond to you right in this email. And you'll notice that in your AppKat account, this message continues to grow as your folks answer back to you. Back to the participant list. So you've recruited participants through AppKat. You know who the participants are. You've narrowed down to the folks that you'd like to speak with. You've sent them messages in AppKat to ask any potential additional questions that you want. Now you're ready to actually send them invites to give you feedback. And you can do that very easily in our platform as well. So the second part of having participants in your panel on AppKat is to send them an invite, to invite them to give you feedback. As I mentioned previously, you can do both moderated and unmoderated tests in AppKat. So I'll go ahead and show you a moderated invite for scheduling users first. So let's say for the folks that we selected, we're going to invite them to a different study, not the study that they signed up for. I'm actually going to select a completely different study to invite them to give us feedback. We're going to invite all of them to a moderated test. And I'm going to invite everyone on iOS because I know that the folks who signed up are iOS users. The emails that I need to put in have already been selected for me because of the participants that I selected on the previous screen. And when you're inviting multiple participants to give you feedback on moderated tests, we ask that you let the participants decide what are the best times for them. And for that, we give you this slot picker tool. I've got 3 participants here. So we're going to pretend that I've put aside December 29th to do feedback from my participants. I can Go ahead and create multiple time slots that the participants can choose from. I can even spread it across multiple days. So if I wanted to give the participants an option to choose from the 28th at 2:30, and I can maybe even do 2 sessions on the 28th. So I've got 3 participants, and I'm going to give them 5 options for doing tests with me. And that's it. You go ahead and create the sessions, and AppKat will take care of sending the reminders and RSVP questions to your participants. So going back to the appkat.nick@gmail.com account, this participant was invited to give feedback. This email is completely customizable. Again, the subject line and the body can be in any language of your choice. Even if you're using English, you can reword as you see fit. There's a unique URL generated for each invite that you send. So this URL is unique to appkat.nick@gmail.com. So when that user comes to this page, they can go ahead and select the time slot that works best for them. So I'm going to go ahead and select 4 p.m. on the 28th because that's the time that works best for me. Now, because this URL is unique to the user, anytime this person comes back to this page, will know that they've already RSVP'd to a time slot on AppKat for your study. And if the user wants to select a different time slot, they'll have to cancel this RSVP first. If any other participant goes to the same page with their own unique URLs, they won't see the 4 p.m. session available anymore because appkat.nick@gmail.com has already selected it. Any participants that don't respond to the RSVP are sent reminder emails. So every 36 hours, AppKat will keep reminding participants who haven't RSVP'd that they have to pick a time slot for their moderated test until the time of the test is complete. If the participants never RSVP, they are just not sent any more emails after that, and your sessions are canceled automatically. So once your participant has selected the time slot, that's when AppKat comes in and sends more reminders. So appkat.nick@gmail.com accepted the time slot for 4 p.m. on December 28th. And as soon as the participant selected that time slot, we sent one email to let them know that they're confirmed for that time. We'll also send an additional email 1 week prior to the test, another one 24 hours prior to the test, and then one more email 1 hour prior to the test to make sure that the participant's aware of when the test is taking place. This email, again, is completely customizable. You can set the subject line and the body of the email in any language of your choice. And if you're using English, you can reword to anything that you see fit. If you're doing in-person sessions especially, you can change this email completely to let the user know that they're supposed to show up in person to the address of your choice. And the email reminder that we send back to the user will have the same email content and the address every single time. So there you have it. That's how you would recruit participants through AppKat. You would schedule participants for either moderated studies, and you can send them unmoderated invites as well. So the next thing you want to do is send out invites to participants for unmoderated tests. Same thing in your participant panel. Once you filter down by the study and the type of questions from the participants you're looking for, you can go ahead and select the participants you'd like to invite to test, and then follow a similar path. You can select the study that you're sending the participants this invite for. As I mentioned before, it doesn't matter which study the participants signed up for. They can be sent invites to any other study for actually doing the tests. We're going to go ahead and select an unmoderated test this time. And I'll leave it at PC Mac, but you have the option to send Android and iOS invites as well. And you'll notice that the email addresses have been selected automatically. And that's it. I can go ahead and create the sessions and send out the invites. Again, AppKat will take care of sending the invites to your participants. This is the invite to an unmoderated test that the participant has received from me from my account. The subject line is completely editable. The body of the email is completely editable. The instructions, the basic instructions are in there. There are only 2 steps the user needs to follow, really. One, they have to have Google Chrome installed on their PC or Mac. And second, they just click on the unmoderated URL to get started with the test. The unmoderated test page is customizable as well. You get to choose your own background colors, your own logo for the start page. You can put in any instructions for the tests you want. This is completely customizable. and again in any language of your choice. So if you wanted to do the entire thing in Russian, you can do that as well. All right, so we've covered recruiting participants through AppKat and curating your own private panel of research participants. We've looked at how do we schedule participants for moderated tests or send them invites to give unmoderated feedback directly. The next thing we're going to look at is how do we actually do a moderated test or an unmoderated test on AppKat. I'm going to go ahead and do a moderated test on a study that has some tasks so we can see how tasks flow in moderated studies. It's already selected as the option of the session. I'm going to select iOS for this test so you can see how moderated testing works on mobile. I'm going to go ahead and invite my participant. I'm going to go ahead and start the session now because we're ready to do the test, and we can jump right into the screen to actually get the test done. When you start a moderated test, or when the time for your moderated session comes about, we open up a conference line for you, your participants, as well as your observers to join. When you come to the moderators page for the moderated test, you'll be shown the option to either join the conference line using your computer's microphone, or you can dial in using your phone. So this is especially useful if you're in a corporate environment and you're not allowed to make VoIP calls from your internet connection. You can just join the conference line right from the phone instead. When you're calling into the conference line, we can enable international calling for you as well. So if there's a country whose number you don't actually see here, you can just request for us to add that country's number, and we can add dialing number for that country as well at no additional charge to you. I'm going to go ahead and pretend that I've called into the conference line. Your participant, if you remember, has also received instructions on how to join you in this test. Your participant will be able to download the AppKat app on their phone and join the session based on either clicking the URL from their email or entering this conference ID into the app. Once your participant joins, you'll see your participant's phone screen displayed on your screen in real time. So in this scenario, you could be the moderator. Let's say you're in New York. Your participant could be a participant in Texas, and you could have a remote team member who is based out of Omaha actually observing the test in real time. Once your participants joined, they can go ahead and click on the phone icon up here to actually join the conference line from the app, or your participant can scroll down a little bit and dial into the conference line using the regular phone calling feature on their phone, whichever works best for them. So if your participant has a decent, strong enough internet network, they can dial into the conference line right from the app itself. Otherwise, they can join from the phone conversation instead. Once your participant is connected with you and you're seeing their screen on your screen, you can send your participant to any URL of your choice. So in AppKat, when you actually create a new test, you don't have to give us one prototype that you're going to test. Once your participant is joined, you can send your participant to any URL of your choice. So if you have 3 different prototypes in InVision or UXPin or just an online HTML page that you'd like to send the participant to, you can continue sending them to as many pages as you want. Once your participant's on the page of your choice, you can then start asking them questions about what you would like them to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to google.com/doodles in here. And nothing for me to do as a participant for the time being, so I'll show you some features. As your participant is going through the app, there are a bunch of things that you can actually do in the moderator screen to facilitate the experience. For one thing, you can chat with your participant right from the AppKat page, so you can send chat messages to your participant in case there's anything you're not able to communicate over voice. You can chat with any internal team members who've joined in to observe your sessions. So in your AppKat account, you'll have the observer URL that you can share with your internal team members. You can post it to an internal Slack channel if you'd like. So I'm going to go ahead and join as an observer on the current session that we're in. When your observers join a session where your participant is giving feedback to you, they'll also be given the option to call into the conference line, either using their computer directly, or they can call in from their phone line, whichever method they prefer. So if you've got observers who are on a network that doesn't allow VoIP connections. It's useful for them to be able to call into the conference line separately. Otherwise, they can just use their phone to call in. Anytime a new observer joins your session, you'll be able to see who's joined the session to observe, and you can message them back and forth as well. So your internal teammates can be messaging you back and forth while you're asking questions of your participant. All right, so you've started a moderated test. You've had a participant join you, and the participant is sharing their screen with you. You have an observer who joined to observe your participant's screen as you're going through the moderated test. You're chatting with your participant if you want to, or you're chatting with your observers if you want to. And there's a few other things you can do as well. If you want to take notes right inside AppKat, you can take notes in the moderated page. So take some notes as the session moderator. If your observers want to take notes, they can also take notes on the session as observers. As you're going through the different tasks in AppKat, you can go ahead and time your user on a particular task. So I can ask my participant to perform task X and start the timer. As my participant goes through there, I'll be able to see what they're doing on their screen. I'll be automatically tracking the number of clicks the user takes in order to perform the tasks that I've asked them to perform. And I'll be able to take more notes on the task itself instead of just taking general session level notes. As your participants going through the task, your observers can take notes on the task itself as well. So they'll know when you're taking notes on a particular task because it'll be the live task shown to them on their screen, and then they can take notes as observer on the task. Once the user is done with the task, you can go ahead and stop the timer so that you can have the average time on task for each user. For any reason, if you need to show the task to the user, you can also show them the task on their screen. So let's say if the user is going off on a tangent, you can press that button and remind them what they're supposed to be doing. If you've assigned a survey to the task, you can send the task survey to the user as well. So if you wanted to ask generic questions for your task or very specific questions for your task, anytime you create tasks in AppKat, you can assign surveys to these tasks so your participants can give you some quantitative data that you can reflect on at a future date. You can also record the entire session right inside your browser. So once you download the AppKat app, you can go ahead and press the extension icon. And what that'll do is actually record your entire session as you're going through each screen with your participant. And while you're recording, you can also drop flags in random locations during your recording. And these flags can be used for you to jump back and forth in the recording to important points where you may want to emphasize later when you're reviewing your notes. You can drop as many flags as you'd like. If you want, you can start a video connection with your participants. If you wanted to enable the phone camera on their account, you can go ahead and click on the video conferencing feature. If we were actually live on a conference call, I could go ahead and mute and unmute my mic. You can pause the screen share on your participant side if you wanted to. So in case you don't want to look at the participant actually filling out the survey results while they're filling them out, you can go ahead and pause the screen share. And then once your participant is done, you can go ahead and hit play again, and that'll bring the participant's screen back live on your screen. And you can also send session level surveys. So there are surveys that you can send that are associated to particular tasks, or you can send a survey that's for this session as a whole, and they can differentiate in the questions that you're asking your participants. And that's about all there is to the moderated test. I'll go ahead and end this session so we can move forward to the next round. Now let's try an unmoderated test. Once you're ready to invite participants to your unmoderated test, I'm going to go ahead and invite a participant to an unmoderated test, and I'll do this unmoderated test on PC and Mac so we can see how it goes. So once again, your participant will be sent instructions on how to join the unmoderated test. Your participant can take this test anytime they're ready. If they haven't taken the test within 36 hours, we continue to send them a reminder every 36 hours that there's an outstanding unmoderated test that they need to complete, and they can get started anytime. So I'm going to pretend that I've already downloaded Google Chrome. I don't really have to do the test, but I can if I wanted to. And then I can get started with the unmoderated test. As I mentioned, everything on this page is customizable. Your participant can call into the recording line either by using the microphone on their computer, or if they don't have a computer mic, they can dial into the recording line that we've created for this session. So step 1 is to actually start recording their voice. Step 2 is to download the Chrome extension into their browser. It's a 2-click process that happens right inside the same page that they started on. And then step 3 is to actually start the screen sharing. So once I've done all 3 steps, I can go ahead and start continuing the tasks. In case they hang up on the recording line by accident, or if their mic gives out halfway through the test, they can still dial into the conference line and continue their recording. That way you don't have to restart the test just because the recording gave out. And they can go ahead and start continuing to tasks. In AppKat, each task can have its own start URL. So let's say if you had 3 tasks, you can give 3 start URLs, one for each task. And these URLs could be to anywhere that you want to send the participant. It could be to an online prototype that you have, or a website that you have, or even a screenshot with a web URL that you have available that you can send to the user. So for this task, my start URL was google.com/doodles. As your participant tries to complete the task, we'll be tracking every page view that the user takes, as well as which URL that page goes to. So we'll be tracking the exact path the user takes from starting the task to the end of the task. When your participant tries to go to the next task, we'll check if the current URL matches the success URL that you selected for that task. So if the user's success URL matches the URL that the user was on when he clicked next, we'll mark the task as successful, otherwise it'll be unsuccessful. So I went ahead and moved on to task 2. The start URL for task 2 was stackoverflow.com. On stackoverflow.com, we're tracking the start URL for this test, and if your user clicks on any questions, we'll be tracking each other URL the user goes to as well. Now, the success URL for this task that I created was questions/ask on Stack Overflow. And if your participant clicks next while they're on this URL, we'll mark this as a successful task. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to task 3. Looks like task 2 has a survey associated to it. Each task, as I mentioned, could have its own survey associated to it. And your user will be asked to complete the task survey at the end of each task that has a survey associated to it. Once the task survey is complete, the user can then again move on to the next task in the list. Looks like that was the last task on our list. So we'll go ahead and close out all the browser tabs that we opened during the unmoderated test automatically and bring the user to the home task screen. And the user can go ahead and save and end this session. And that's it. That's how you would do both unmoderated and moderated testing on appkat.com. All right, so far we have covered how do you recruit participants in AppKat, how do you schedule them for moderated tests or send them invites to unmoderated tests, how to conduct a moderated test in AppKat, how to conduct an unmoderated test in AppKat. And now the next step is going to be how do you pay your participants? As your participants finish your sessions, either moderated or unmoderated, in your account you're going to see actionable tasks, and this badge will go away as the number of tasks lowers. You can go ahead and select how much you would like to pay this participant in the currency of your choice. This is the currency that you would choose that you would be charged in, and your participant will have the option to withdraw in a different currency through PayPal. So if you wanted to pay your participants $50 for participating in this session, AppKat will go ahead and charge the payment method on your account $53 and then transfer $50 to your participant. Your participant has the option to either withdraw the payment through PayPal or through Amazon gift cards. If you don't want to pay your participant through AppKat, it's completely up to you. You can go ahead and pay them separately. And finally, you can play back the session recordings and look at the session reports. So once your session is complete, you can go ahead and play back the video recording that you recorded during your session, either for the moderated test or the video recording of the unmoderated test. You can jump around in the video using our skip and back buttons, depending on what you would like to do for that session. You can add more flags to the video as you're playing it back in case you find something more interesting that you'd like to flag down. And then you can use the flags to actually jump to the part in the video where the flag was dropped. So here I am clicking around to the different places where I dropped flags. You can take notes on the flag and save those for future needs. So whenever you jump back to the flag in the future, you'll be able to see the sticky note that you took. And you can also jump around to the tasks that the user completed. So if there was more than one task on this session, I'd be able to click on the task and jump to the part in the video where that task started. So let's say the video is at 108 right now, but I want to jump back to the beginning of this task. I can click on the task to actually jump to the part in the video where that task started. You can download the video recording, the entire video recording in either format of your choice. You can download just the task itself if you wanted to. So if you don't want the entire 60-minute session, you just want the one task that the user tried to complete, you can download that chunk of the video itself. Or you can define exactly what part of the video you'd like to have. So if I wanted to, let's say, get between 26 seconds and 35 seconds of video here, so I'm going to go ahead and pause, put in 35 seconds, I can go ahead and just get this 9-second clip that I want out of the video I wanted to compile. You can also look at the study results in your account. So for my study that we've done all the sessions in so far, if I go into the results of the study, it'll break down all the data that we've collected so far. The study will include how many participants were invited to give you feedback. And then for each task, it'll tell you how many folks tried to complete the task and how many of them were successful. So although I invited 31 participants to this study, only about 8 participants tried to complete task number 1 in this study. 7 of the 8 who tried to complete the task were successful at it. On average, it took them this much time, this many clicks, and this many page views to complete this task. We'll also give you the path the user followed in order to get to the task. So this was the first URL the user went to. This is the start URL of the task. So this would be most likely the first step for everyone. And then it'll tell you all the other steps that the user took in order to complete this task, and then how much time the user spent on each page as they went through here. As you go through the task notes for moderated tests or unmoderated tests, if you took notes on the task, they'll all show up here. These notes will be from yourself as the moderator, as well as any notes that your observers took during the session. Their notes will show up here as well. So here's a task note as a moderator, and then here's an observer taking a note on the same task. If you wanted to play back one of the tasks that were a failing one, and you wanted to jump to that task, you can click on the watch icon, and it'll take you to the part in the video of that particular user's session and show you the task that you'd like to see. So you'll notice that it jumped to the part in the video where the failed task started. Each task will have its own data. So this is the second task in the list that we had. It tells you how many folks got to the second task, all the data that's relevant to this task. Just as you saw for task number 1, you'll be able to see all the notes that you took for this task, any clips that you highlighted in that task. And then finally, at the bottom of each task, you'll also have the survey results. So if you created a survey for the users to respond to after each task, you'll be able to see a more quantitative format of data that'll give you the responses that your users created. And then at the very bottom of your report, you'll also see notes that you took for this session. So the big white box that you saw on the moderated tests where you could take notes for the session show up at the bottom here. And you could have taken notes as the moderator, or you can take notes as the observer. Everyone's notes show up in the report. And these notes are separate from the task notes that we saw above. And then finally, you can share this report with your stakeholders. So even if your stakeholders don't have an AppKat account, you can send them a public URL to your project, and it will make available all the data that you collected during your study for them to review at their convenience. And that's it for the study results.